Hello everybody, it's Bungo Bob here again. Come to my little fishing den. I think you have seen this little den once before when we had a chat about poles and pole purchases and such. And this video I just want to tell you a little bit about some of the tackle I use, pole fishing tackle, sort of end tackle really, rig making materials, floats, lines. And this is by no means, oh I'm saying this is the best, this is just what I use, what I found over a period of time, years in fact, what I find works for me, okay? Now, first of all, a lot of people have been asking me what floats am I using for the majority of my carp fishing, especially when it comes to pellet fishing, meat fishing, especially the meat, and that is the one and only, a lot of you already know it, but that is a Malman Rube, alright, Malman's Rube. And this one's a wire one, and the majority of the time, I'd say 80% of the time, I do use the wire ones. I tend to use 4 rubbers on there because you find the wire has less chance of bending when you've got 4 rubbers on there. And if you're expecting to catch quite a few fish, you don't want to use too thin a silicone either, because what will happen is, I imagine you've all seen it before, the line starts to break it, etc. Before you know what happens, you're down to 3 rubbers and you're pulling one down at the bottom because that bottom one's gone, etc. But so I use fairly thick stuff, fairly robust, not so thick that it makes the float sit in all funny, which it can do, or worse, sort of loop over. You know, when you get that your line go from there and sort of twist round, that can happen if you use too thick of rubbers. But certainly fairly robust silicone, that is, okay. And that's a 4x14. The majority of what I fish are 4x14s and 4x12s. I mean, I'll fish a 4x12 in 5 foot of water, no problem, unless there's a lot of undertow or a lot of wind, or more than likely both. Then I'll be looking at a 4x14. I have got 4x16s made up just in case. I've never really found it, you know, towing so much or being so windy that a 4x16 can't cope with it, to be honest. Not with a Rube. Very, very stable float. Now, going away from the wire version, there are other floats I use from other manufacturers, and some are sort of made fairly locally by other people, and I will do another little video on those again, but I just wanted to concentrate on the Malmans I use for this little video. So going on to the carbon ones, now we found over places like Todber, when you're looking to catch 200 plus, and in all fairness at Todber you will certainly catch 200 plus, then you've got to get away from wire, because it doesn't matter how good they are or how strong they are, they're simply just not going to be robust enough. They take so much stick, they will bend, they will break. So we find that carbon is a lot more robust, can take a lot more stick, don't tend to break. So again, the same sizes, and what you'll find with carbon, because it's not taking the weight of the wire, you'll find they're slightly slimmer as well. A little bit better as well for those pellet bites, etc. Not that it matters over there, most of them end up tearing the elastic out, to be honest. And then the edges, now I'm trying to think of the names of these. I've not bought any in a while. I bought quite a few and sort of and then kept them. I think it's an Elco, but it's a Malman anyway, that's for sure, and that's a 0.4, same as a lot of people use for your ground bait and maggot, or a mixture of pellets, etc., and ground bait, you know. And it takes about 5 number 8s, which is perfect, isn't it? Just above your hook length, bulk them up, just above that nice positive. And these are good for about, I'd say, up to 2 foot to sort of maybe 28 inches. And once I go over 28 inches deep, I wouldn't be using that. And if I'm going to Todber or somewhere, to be honest, if it's prime summer, I wouldn't be using that either. I'd be using something with an even thicker bristle than that. I mean, that's a 2mm bristle on that. I should have mentioned that. That's the same with the Rubes as well. They're 2mm bristles, and you want that as well, you know. So shotting for those floats, I basically, nearly all my rigs for carp, I tie up on 2.0 line, and I tend to use power line. I used Garber line for years, absolutely loved it, but they stopped manufacturing it, and I finally ran out, and that's as robust as anything. And I don't use it for hook length material. It doesn't mic up correctly, in all fairness. Nowhere near. It's it mics up, it is way bigger. That 015 is around 018. So, but I use that for main lines, etc. Lovely, strong, robust. I use 2.0 for the majority of my carp rigs. If I go with somewhere like Todber, expecting 200 plus, possibly 400 plus, then I tie it up on 2.2. So on this rig, what I've got here, that's a 4x12 rube, and I've got 6, I think that's number 9s. I think it is. So 6 number 9s. A little paper clip. I've got a paper clip there. It's something I do. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. That paper clip, I just bend it out like that, so as I can put it in the hole on the winder like so, and then my loop stays straight. If you put the loop over that little pimple or whatever it is here, this little protruding part, you'll find that your loop will kink when you take the rig off. I don't like that. I know a lot of people use the Reeve ones. I've seen them where you've got the circle plastic, and they snip the circle plastic out and put the loop over that and keep it a bit straighter, which is a great idea. But that's the way I do it. Then what I'll do is, you can see that's about, I'd say that's probably about 8 inches from the loop. Now that bottom shot would stay there where it is, because what I'd do with that then is I would always wet your line a little bit when you're moving shot. I would move that shot, say that I want it over an 18-inch spread, right? And I want it even, just a nice even spread. See if I can get this right for you. Should have done a Blue Peter, shouldn't I, where I did it before the show sort of thing. Right. There we are, it's more or less even. There you go. It ain't too bad. For demonstration purposes, forgive me. So there we are. 6 spread shot there, and that is how I fish it with the meat a lot. If I'm fishing for loads and loads of fish, I may well bring it down and bulk it down a little bit, or obviously if it's towing or blowy as anything, then I'll bring it down a bit. But otherwise, I'd say 80% of my meat fishing on that 2+2 line, that short line, is done like that. So what we got then is our last shot is what, 8 inches from the loop, and then you'll have a 6-inch hook length. So you're talking about 14 inches there to your first shot. That might sound a lot, but believe it or not, it works really well, because you flick the rig out like so. So you flick it out like so, it hits the water, it comes back like this. You're only fishing, generally I plumb up to here, to there. Always seem to end up, whenever I've caught fish, and you know you move your float around, because it's a bit silty and things, and you've gone a little bit more on the deck, or you start foul because you've come off a little bit or whatever. And always, whenever I put a plummet on at the end of the match and I've caught well on that line, I've gone out and plumbed up and seen how far I am on the bottom. It's always there. What's that? 2/3, 3/4 of an inch under the body. For some reason, I don't know why. If it's really, really flat, I would say to plumb there. So as your plummet hits the bottom and all the body's showing. And then when I'm fishing the meat, I don't worry about, it's none of this dimpling down. It's a 2mm bristle, so that for a reason. It's nice and buoyant, you know, carp lining you and all the rest of it. And I like a nice bit of float showing, like half the bristle like that when I'm fishing on that meat. For hook length, I don't go with the Preston Power line. What I found is, once again, I did use Garbo line until they stopped making it. I absolutely love that stuff. I was gutted when they stopped. But I have found this, and I have to say I've been really impressed with this. But again, this is what I find works for me. Doesn't mean it works for you, but that is very. It's just really nice line, to be honest. Have a look at it, see what you think. You might like it. The last thing I wanted to touch on this very brief video is shot. Again, I looked for ages, played about with loads of shot. Put your shot on with a pair of pincers. These are Garbolino ones, doesn't really matter. I think Preston, a lot of them do them now, don't they? But I do it like that, because that way you can get them on properly, nice and neatly, and you don't end up leaving little bite marks in them and all the rest of it, and you get even pressure with them. I think that's the thing. Then you can move them around like I am. And the reason as well I use shots and not stots is because if you're on fish and catching lots of fish, they don't move around. Now, they can ping off, but not if you put them on with those pliers and you find a good shot to use, which has got a nice slit dead down the centre, and goes on your line really nicely. And that's exactly what this does. And this is again another shout out for Colmic. That's Colmic shot. Brilliant stuff. Nothing, I found nothing anywhere near as close as good as that. Really, really good. So that's the stuff you want to use. So as I say, I mean, I do use stops or stubs at times, but the majority, I just find myself now going more and more to shot. It stays on the line and it doesn't move, like I say. So you can catch fish after fish. You find with stops, if you're on a lot of fish, every fish you catch, you suddenly, you know, they've all bunched up and moved, and you're moving them around, etc. So just a short video. Do hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything else you want to see or questions you want to ask, please do. I love hearing from you and chatting a little bit about fishing. Breaks up my week. Thanks ever so much for watching. See you again soon.